And what I've come to learn is it's not, what we do once in a while as this big, huge, impact into the world. It's the little things that we do time and time and time again. Oftentimes, especially this time of the year, everyone's trying to make this big impact. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to make $1 million this year. And what I'm really looking at is, what am I doing every day? What small thing am I doing every day, time and time, that is going to get me closer to where I want to be? And then not beat myself up so much about the time that I'm not doing the things that I want to do. Because if I can be consistent in a little bit small thing, there's a story, I don't know who said it, but I heard Gary Keller talk about it, where they wanted to take a big, huge beam of steel and they put it in this big, huge building, and they took a cork and they put a cork on a thing. And over time, they did prove that it took a long, 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 long time. But that little cork just hitting on that piece of steel over time eventually started the steel vibrating. So I would say be consistent in the small things, and really don't beat yourself up if you're being consistent and doing the best that you can.
Welcome to another episode of the Made to Be Great podcast. I am joined here today with a friend and realtor partner, Christi Ramey. Thank you, Christi, for coming on the show today.
Thanks for making time for me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So just before we get into some different topics, do you want to give a quick introduction on what you do in the world, a little bit about yourself, real estate agent, obviously, professionally for the last however many years?
Working in that field for 26 years now, Josh.
Wow.
Yeah. Seen a lot.
Yes, you have. I've been about the same time.
Okay, so that's
mortgages.
a good, yeah. And I've known you since, I want to say I'm going to take a guess, 2013-ish, 2014-ish. Is that?
That sounds very accurate.
Yeah. We met at a real estate.
Was that at Bold?
It was at Bold.
Yeah.
We met at a real estate training segment. I think you might have even been sponsoring it at the time, because that was common.
Okay. Yes, I did. I attended one first.
Right.
And then I sponsored.
Yeah.
So it was probably one or both of those.
So that's 11 years.
Wow.
Doesn't seem like 11 years.
No, it doesn't. That flew by.
Yep.
A lot's happened in that 11 years, which maybe we'll get into.
Yeah, in real estate and otherwise, right?
Yes.
Because you're not doing exactly what you were doing.
I am not.
And I'm not exactly doing what I'm doing, but I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something that I've heard a number of times, because my pastor says it, and he says it a lot, is he says, healthy things grow and growing things change.
Ooh, that's a very good
one. Which
growing things do change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had somebody the other day tell me, a vendor that I was talking to for lawn stuff, which that's a whole other maybe rabbit trail, but he was like, "You've changed, man." And he meant it, I think, in a not great way, but I actually took it as like, yeah, I have changed. Like, because now I like speak up a little bit more.
Right.
Whereas before I would just like maybe let stuff slide because I didn't want to have an uncomfortable conversation. So
an uncomfortable that's a whole nother conversation. Uncomfortable conversations.
Have you had any of those in real estate?
Never. No. But something that came to mind when you were talking about your favorite quote is, and this might have gone back to Bold. I can't give credit to who said this, but I do remember it. If you're not growing, you're dying, right?
So true. Yeah. There really is no holding.
No.
You're either growing or shrinking.
That's right.
Which is uncomfortable to think about.
Yeah.
Unless you use it as motivation.
Yeah. So I've been blessed to sell real estate for over 20 years.
So do you want to share with the people how you got into real estate? A lot of people ask this of me, and probably real estate.
Why am I in this crazy, because most
no one talks about it on career day. So that question comes up like, hey, did you know somebody? Like, did you just fall into it? How did you get into that whole?
Right. So like most, I did not wake up one day, or I wasn't a child saying, hey, I'm going to grow up and be a realtor. We had moved to Florida. I had a young child and wasn't comfortable using a daycare system to get back into the workforce. My husband was working, and that's why we moved to Florida. And so I started working in a restaurant at night so that we can kind of tag team the daycare situation with my daughter. And there was someone in my server staff that just kind of was very persistent and kept asking me to go to real estate school with her. I thought she was absolutely nuts. And after enough persistence, obviously she won, and I went to real estate school, studied, got the license, and kind of put it on the shelf, actively not doing anything. And then what really brought me into it is we built our second home with a builder.
Mm.
And through that process, the relationship that I created with the sales consultant and the fact that my daughter was now getting ready to go into school during the day just made sense. I don't want to work at night anymore. I have a real estate license, and this seems pretty cool. So I entered real estate, selling new homes for a builder developer in 2000.
Okay. And how did you like that?
That was awesome because if you were in real estate, which I believe you were, you know that anything leading up to 2008 was amazing.
That's not a lie.
And especially I was working at the time, I guess I could say I was working in Celebration. I was living in Celebration and selling homes there, which people were just, lining up, literally lining up. I remember sitting in a model home in
It was like
2002.
lotteries,
Yeah,
right? To
yeah,
get
lotteries and people lining up at the counter, and you just sat there and talked all day
mm.
long because they were just lined up waiting to talk to you. So,
I'd remember at lunch you sharing the experience you had with that builder and how positive it
mhm,
was, which was very encouraging to me
yeah.
because I've had positive and negative
Hmm.
experiences with builders. And so that's a great endorsement of how important it is to have a real estate agent when you're buying new
Hmm.
construction because
Right,
not all builders are
right.
equal.
Not all builders are equal. You have to know who you're in business with, both from the, who you're, looking to buy your house with. But yeah, have someone I think that's savvy. Oftentimes, when I have buyers come to me, specifically first time home buyers, they don't know that they can even use a realtor, right?
Yeah,
To
for new
purchase their
construction, they
home,
might
and that
just
they're
assume that
what the
they don't need
benefits
it.
are, right? But
Which I could tell you from experience, you probably need it more,
yeah,
especially in today's market.
correct. Correct. And the education piece and the standing up for the process, because a builder will basically just want to take over, and that's a good thing, of the process. But there's some definite key points that buyers need to be educated on, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I did that. I did that for many years. And then an opportunity arose. Well, not an opportunity, a shift in the market happened. And basically, the community that I was working in just shut down. And that was about 2009.
Mm,
And the builder said, we're just going to put a timeout on it. And I was out of work.
mm.
And so I went back into working at a restaurant because I needed to pay bills. And I started working in general real estate, probably in one of the largest awful shifts the economy and the mortgage
Yeah.
crisis was happening at
Everything
that time.
changed
Yeah.
from that time.
Yep. And so I started working for a real estate company that was sending me leads through the internet because I was working another full time job for about 3 years.
Mm,
And then in 2013 was when I connected with the company that I've been with, and that's with Keller Williams and my brother. And so I joined his team. And we worked together for a long time, and it was great. It was a great time. I'm still with Keller Williams. I'm just a solo agent now, working out of one of the Keller Williams offices here in Orlando.
very cool.
Met you at Keller Williams. Yep.
So, do you want to talk about how the shift was from 2009,
Mm,
8, 9 to now?
wow.
Like, how did that go for you? That I know for me, it was very emotional, very, um, there was a lot of prolonged and deep adversity
Hmm.
during that time that I think caused people to either really grow
Hmm.
or really retreat.
Yeah.
And
And there was a lot of people during that time. I mean, obviously, I can feel it right now. There was some like deep sadness, and there was a lot of loss.
yeah,
Even colleagues in the industry of yours and mine lost a lot because
hmm
if you step back, when I started in real estate, it was really a very vibrant, flourishing thing. And then really about 2005, there came a time where yeah, the profits were good, the builders were making money, we were making money as sales agents, but it wasn't like it was 4 years before. I felt that I was becoming just more of an order taker, right?
Mhm.
And so, because everyone was
From
just
2000 to 2005
well, no, more from 2005 to when
to 8.
the crash happened, right? Everybody was a real estate investor. I mean, this
There
is
was an escalation because we had no income verification,
correct,
low down,
correct.
non-owner occupied loans.
There was a true story. I think this was the week before Christmas, leading up to Christmas Eve. I was working in a new builder community now out in Winter Garden, and this was 2008. 2007, sorry. And a gentleman from Miami called up and said, "Hey, I want 5 homes. I'm going to pay cash. You pick them. I don't care anything about them. Just put them together for me and send me the contracts and I'll sign the contract." And I went, wow,
Hmm.
this is not 2000, right? This is a different real estate market. And it felt weird. And then, so I think when I go to 2009, when you're kind of forced sometimes into making, a critical crossroads come up, and where 2009 was scary. And I, would not want to have all that happen again. For me as an agent going into general real estate, it forced me to realize that I needed to keep my skills sharper. I needed to learn a lot, and the amount of things that I didn't know. How do you help a short sale person buy a home and not go crazy, right? You
It's
probably,
difficult.
yeah.
There's a lot more to it.
Foreclosures.
Yeah.
I had a client that came in, just got married literally that day with his wife. They had met in the college program, had $52,000 cash and wanted to buy a condo. And at that time you
Hmm.
could. And it was just a whole, we just saw things walking into a home and having 6 refrigerators
Hmm.
sitting, in the foreclosure. It's, so it's been a different market.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a wild time.
Right. So that was 2009. And then we kind of started to come out of it in 2013, 2014, 2015.
So I don't want the viewers to miss that.
Okay.
So we're talking about things were normal
Mhm.
pre 2005.
Yeah.
5 to 8, 2005 to 2008, there was an escalation.
It became a free for all. Yes.
And then you said we began to come out of it. So we're starting in 2008, 9, 10,
Right.
11,
12.
12.
I would say 2012 was when I felt like,
So that's 5 years
yeah,
of economic depression.
it was tough. Yeah.
So I don't want people to miss the impact of that, because I think when most normal people, they say real estate is feast or famine,
Correct.
and most normal jobs, if you get laid off, 6 months is a long time to consider
Mhm.
finding another job, and usually you're replacing most of your income after that window.
Right.
And for us, I don't know how it was for you, but I think if you look at like industry average, it was like a 50 to 75% reduction in income,
Mhm.
almost like pretty quick
Some to zero.
for 5 years.
Right. Some
So
to zero and some.
how do you manage that? How do
Right.
you tell your family about that? How do you,
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
I look back now and I think for me, it was just the big goal at that time became, I was also at that time personally going through a divorce. And so for me, I think what actually kept focusing on me is I'm going to make this time not have an impact on my daughter.
mm.
So what is it that I need to
So that
do?
was your why. That
Yeah,
was
exactly. What is it that I
helping you
need to
push
do?
through all that
Right.
difficult stuff.
To get to, so I can, keep her doing her dance classes, keep her in her school, that. And that was what forced me to just like, it's whatever you need to do. I will, you know, Gary Keller wrote a book with some people at that time called Shift. And, we
I
don't need
remember
to
that.
talk much, but it basically means what it means. And if you're willing to look at everything as an opportunity and be able to not hold so tightly to, oh, well, this is the way that we did it, and realize that everything is always shifting and being able to move with that. I believe that was an opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to wind back too far, but I was working in new construction when 9/11 happened. I was actually in the model home when 9/11 happened.
Mm.
And it was a scary time for everyone. It was an awful time to think about, right?
Yeah.
And as a business, David Weekley, the company that I was working for, is like, well, will anybody ever want to buy a home again? You didn't know that, right? And the interesting thing was people wanted to start to buy homes because they wanted a different lifestyle. So you don't really know what
how
could
people will
bring.
react.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the similar thing happened after, if you don't want to go jump too far forward for the people that are listening, but if you jump to the COVID time, we didn't know if anyone was ever going to buy a house again.
Yeah. I remember there was a few weeks where it was like,
Right.
maybe, sometimes we maximize things in the moment and we
Right.
think like, what if this continues forever?
That's what your brain thinks, right?
And then, I don't know, it was 2, 3 weeks. And then it was like
Right.
off to the races,
Right.
Low rates definitely didn't hurt that. In fact, one of the analysts I follow, Housing Wire lead analyst Logan Motoshami, he was actively speaking out about we need higher rates, and everyone was throwing tomatoes at him because he's like, guys, this is escalating prices out of control, and the link to incomes is getting worse and worse.
Right.
And now we're in a period where we don't have stated income. So you have to prove your income, and
Right.
the price is escalating too much. But to your
You
point,
kind of make the bed you sleep in. I mean, you sleep in the bed you make, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And where it was good on
those
one
low
end,
rates helped stimulate
we paid for it.
purchasing, but then everything now costs
Right.
double.
Right. And the perception, it's interesting, from 2000, when we didn't even have an iPhone yet. Am I right, guys? We didn't have an iPhone.
I think it was 2007.
Right. So in 2000, we didn't even have an iPhone or those kind of things. And so
At a BlackBerry.
Right.
Old
to
school.
how that effect of getting in people's minds of, there's no interest rate, under 5. That is, unless it's under 5, it's not a good interest rate. Well, where did that come from? Right.
Yeah.
What was your first interest rate on your house?
11.
Yeah. Mine was like 8.5, and
Yeah.
my parents was 18.5 something back when they bought their first house. But we have that perception, which really isn't true.
But I will say, like, the loan amount though was like 90,000.
Correct. Exactly.
So that's, everything's relative when they talk about like the 80s and what rates were in the teens. But you could buy a nice home in a nice neighborhood for $100,000, $120,000.
Right.
And so, it's not necessarily fair to say, but for most of my career, the normal range was 6 to 8% for a 30-year fixed. And so, there was a short period of time where we had rates under 4.
Right.
And then that begins to be, the normal. It's just like anything else. Like if you start eating nice steaks, then,
right.
Chef Boyardee isn't going to be so good anymore. Even if you loved it before that, it's hard to, like, I tell people when we're doing like the qualifying numbers, let's start with a payment that's comfortable,
right,
and then figure out the house and try to stay, on the low. Because if you look at any, and I'm saying this because I want you to weigh in.
Okay.
If you have a buyer and they look at any $600,000 home,
okay,
and then look at any $400,000 home, all those $400,000 homes probably aren't going to look nearly as appealing to them as if they would have never looked at the $600,000 homes.
100%.
So it's interesting how the human mind works.
I would say that that's true even in $50,000 to $100,000 intervals when you're showing someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the exact opposite is, people have a threshold and no one wants to move into a house and not be comfortable with the payment. But yet sometimes if you can look at even another $25,000 in house price, it will significantly, depending on location and what they're looking for, change the style or the condition of the type of home that they would be able to consider.
Or the school district or anything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's another reason why having an expert or a team of experts, because something else that I have found that some people are surprised by is when you look at, somebody says, I don't want to spend more than $550 on a home. And then, you look at a home for $575, everything's relative. When you show the difference in the monthly payment at $575, a lot of times we find that people are like, oh, it's not that much different. Yet they can get in a better school zone. Maybe they can get a nicer neighborhood. They can, so those are important things. On the flip side, I've had people where we show them those same numbers and they'll say, I'm good with the 550. Like, I don't want to. So
Right.
that's why it's important to have a team
Right.
that's looking out for you, helping.
Right.
And I appreciate how you,
Well, and vice versa. It's like I would really want to unpack, one of the first things that, clients do are they have a consultation with their lender, and they do. They have a number already in their mind,
hmm
whether it's the number that they end up with, they have a number in their mind. So for me as an agent, I want to know what's important to you about that number,
hmm
because if I look at a $600,000 house and even compare it to another $600,000 house, the cost to that person moving in is not going to be the same
yeah,
as we start asking questions. Well, what's the age of the roof?
mm,
You know,
yeah,
does
absolutely.
this house have original windows and this house has already replaced their windows along the way?
hmm Or
We're talking $20,000-$30,000 difference right
huge.
there. So now that $600,000 house might not be the same six. It's
hmm
location, price, but it's also condition that that if you don't have someone that understands how that could affect you 1 month, 6 months, a year down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then do they have the resources that they're gonna be able to move into that house and replace those things?
And especially slight rabbit trail, but
That's all right.
I thought about new construction
Mhm,
because a lot of times if you don't have your own real estate agent and you don't even have a consultation with an outside lender, a lot of times we will um, meet with folks, talk to them, and if they're going new construction, depending on the builder, we sometimes advise them use the builder's lender because they're going to give you an insane amount of
mhm,
incentives. But we can a lot of times point things out. Like a big one is the property tax bill.
mhm,
If you see the payment and it's 3,000 a
mhm.
month, but they're using only the land value on the tax, and no one explains to them that next year maybe it's 3,800 on your payment because and you're sometimes you can qualify at the 3,000 payment, and then all of a sudden now everybody's
It's
budget is
totally
stressed, and
different.
then that if they don't know, then they could find themselves a year from then
Calling you up and yelling
in
at
a
you.
mess and
Never
being
had
really
that happen. Yeah, yeah,
frustrated and sad because no one told them. How would they know? I mean, it's
right,
not their lane. No one's, it doesn't jump out at you. So um, those are some of the reasons why it's so important to have your own team of
right.
experts that really is looking out for you that, and this is a personal opinion, which I don't know how
I
I'm
value your opinion.
guessing you would probably agree with this, but I personally like professionals who are independent in the sense of they're not incentivized financially in any way
Mm,
for you to do a certain thing, and they're counting on um, that customer is counting on, or I'm sorry, that professional, like in this case, say me, the lender, I would be counting on that client thinking that I really took care of them and wanting to tell their friends about me in a good
right,
way versus me having a big ad budget or a strategic alliance where I'm going to keep getting people no matter how I treat them or how their thing goes
right.
because that that matters,
Yeah,
like based on like the advice you're going to give to the person of doing the right thing no matter what.
correct.
Because really my most important thing is this person going to be cared for?
Right,
If this was a family member, what would I tell them?
right,
You know, um, versus somebody with a big alliance or somebody that's has this is no shade to bank, whatever, but like you know, big national banks, like people are going to come in and get a loan again next month, no matter what, because they bank there, and it's just
right,
versus us, we're counting on clients
right,
to say nice things about us and tell
right,
their friends about us, and they're only going to do that if we really serve them.
right, right. And I think it's also, um, it's setting your client up for success. I mean, I don't think clients often realize that, there's more than over 100 of things that can go wrong and not get you to the closing table.
Mm,
And all of those things happen after the contract is signed. And so having a good
Or even
team,
after closing, maybe some
correct,
of
and
them,
having right, and
which is
having
even more
right.
stressful.
So having a good team up front, and what I mean by team is, the lender is critical so that they can flesh out those items before the person even gets emotionally attached to the house,
Mm,
before the deposit is made, before the money is paid for the inspections. If a person has a great team of a lender that's flushing those things out before they even get it, it's saving them money and it's saving them
heartache.
time, right?
Yeah. And a
And
good insurance agent too,
right.
now especially
Yep, and the
because,
fallout happens after the contract is signed, but
yep,
the work is like the work before the work, right? Doing
yes.
it up front so that, I heard it, it might have been on another podcast, but it's applicable. If you go and you buy a car, what do? You go and you find the car,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go in and you sit down and you haggle.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how we buy houses. We need to go and get the paperwork and find out how much we can actually shop with.
Mm.
And then we go out and we look at the house. So we can't buy houses like we buy cars,
Hmm.
right? We need to go to that process with the ability to buy. And right now, as an agent, when I represent buyers, we have that leverage. We have leverage to get concessions and things like that for our buyers. But we know
Because
being
of where the market is right
right,
now.
right, but we know being in the market as long as we have that will not stay that way.
No.
And to
What
be
would
true,
cause that to change for people who are listening to this?
Um, what would cause that to change, an instant change, I believe, would be just someone starting to talk about rates going down over a period of time
Mm-hmm.
on social media and in the news.
Yeah.
Because I have more buyers right now that are saying for the last 6 to 9 months, I'm waiting. And no matter what, they're waiting and they're waiting to hear the confirmation that the rates are going to go down. And I think once they jump back in, the inventory that we have available right now is going to start to be bought, and
Mm-hmm.
then it's just basic supply and demand,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then prices will
I
go
think
up.
that's something that in one-on-one conversations we have almost daily, sometimes
Mhm,
more than once a day, is explaining that, you know, supply is here,
mhm,
demand is here, and if demand goes way up, demand could go way up on lower rate announcement, um, and supply is not going to do that. So if you have double the demand and basically the same supply,
right.
what do you think would happen to the price, to your ability to get concessions?
It will
It's
go
just
away. Right, it
natural,
will dry up.
you know.
And the other thing, I mean, it's a little thing, but in Florida, we kind of operate on a little bit different rules than the rest of the United States geographically because it's a really cold winter up north. I'm from Chicago.
Mm,
They've had an awful, awful winter. This is snowbird season. My phone's been ringing, and it's the people that are coming here back down here to get out of that cold. And, oh, I'm retiring, so it's time. I'm going to start looking. And so even that has an impact. We do get busier going into the winter where our friends in the north kind of are still having their foot off the gas with looking, selling, things like that.
true. It's true. We definitely don't. We're blessed in that
Yeah.
we don't have really weather seasonality to
No.
our business, which is great.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think our worst case weather situation is we have a hurricane and it slows things down for a couple
Yeah,
weeks,
and
and then we're back off to the races. So that's a beautiful thing.
it is.
So would you say so? People listening to this, maybe there's somebody listening to this who's going through a difficult season. Maybe it's been weeks, months, years. What would you say to that person who's listening to this that is feeling down, hopeless, frustrated that they're going through difficult things? What are some lessons that you took through that 5-year
Mm.
deep adversity season that you went through? Are there things that you could look at today that you would say, I would be less skilled, or I'd have less perspective? Or what were some of those silver linings of that growth
Mm.
that came out of that season for you?
And I would be speaking to someone specifically that's in their business
Or personal,
or
could be,
personal.
or both. Because a lot of times, like you mentioned, sometimes people are going through both something tough in their
Right.
career and something tough
Yeah.
in
Um,
personal?
I'm always of the belief, because I'm a grow type of person, that I can put business, but you can put personal life in there. Only grows to the extent that I grow.
Mm,
So, um, with that in mind, one thing that I'd like to leave with is my word. I pick a word for this year, and I picked a word. I don't think I told you my word for
mm-mm.
this year yet. And my word for this year is consistency.
Okay.
And what I've come to learn is it's not, what we do once in a while as this big, huge, impact into the world. It's the little things that we do time and time and time again.
Mm,
And oftentimes, especially this time of the year, everyone's trying to make this big impact. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to make $1 million this year. And what I'm really looking at is, what am I doing every day? What small thing am I doing every day, time and time, that is going to get me closer to where I want to be? And then not
mm,
beat myself up so much about the time that I'm not doing the things that I want to do. Because if I can be consistent in a little bit small thing, there's a story, I don't know who said it, but I heard Gary Keller talk about it, where they wanted to take a big, huge beam of steel, and they put it in this big, huge building, and they took a cork, and they put a cork on a thing, and over time, they did prove that it took a long, 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 long time, but that little cork just hitting on that piece of steel over time eventually started the steel vibrating.
mm,
So I would say, be consistent in the small things, and really don't beat yourself up, um, if you're being consistent and doing the best that you can.
mm. That's a good word. Yeah. I think it's interesting how, especially with social media, how much dopamine we get from just saying, "Hey, I'm going to make
Right.
$1 million. I'm going to lose 50 pounds," or versus doing the work
Mhm.
of what disciplines and habits do I need if I want to be a person who earns $1 million a
Mm,
year, or if I want to be a person who is a certain weight. What are the habits? What are the disciplines? What are the what are the things I need to be not doing? What are the things I need to be doing? And when you get the inputs right,
mm,
you almost can't miss
right.
the output. And I think so many times we look at people who have X or
Mm,
whatever, and we just think, oh, they're lucky, or it must be easy for them because blah blah blah.
right.
And I can say most people that I know that are having results that a lot of people would want have gone through lengthy and deep
Mhm.
seasons of adversity, failure, public
And more
humiliation
than once.
more than once.
Yes. I would say more
Um,
than once.
and we're getting to a place with podcasting and things where people are talking about this more,
Mhm.
but I definitely don't want to miss that. And that's something that I think I know for me in my
Mhm.
life and my career, I could say that at the time it felt awful. I still can't eat noodles without meat because I ate so many
Uh,
noodles during, like,
it's
that's
a
how
trigger. It's like a thing for you.
I
Yeah.
still, because
Yeah.
it was just like for years I just ate noodles
Mhm.
and sauce and like that because it was cheap, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but I wouldn't have the resilience and the
Mm.
perspective and the gratitude, I don't think,
Mm.
had I not gone through that period. So if someone's listening to this, I mean, you're a super humble person, but
Oh,
looking at your numbers and like you make a lot of sales, you represent a lot of sellers, a lot of buyers. Um, you're a great and kind human
oh,
being.
thank you.
And I am thankful to know you. And I
Uh,
think
I
your clients are lucky to have you. And there's growing up, I grew up around sales. My dad was a real estate broker and opened a mortgage business. That's my origin story. And growing up, I heard like the used car salesman, like
mm,
criticism of salespeople. And I think in some ways, real estate and mortgage professionals can have this kind of negative bias with the
mm,
public.
yeah.
Um, and over the course of my career, I've met many of these people that
Mhm.
um, are maybe the reason why there's this perception with some of the public. But I think what I want the public to hear is there are so many people like us that truly care about people, who serve people, who want to be a calm and guiding force for people with their largest
Mm,
purchase of their life. And something that's been cool for me to see is that over the course of my almost 30 years of now doing this, I've seen a shift of what felt like to me to be a predominant, on average, person I interacted with being like that more stereotypical, kind of harsher,
mhm,
salesier person, to now I see more predominantly the people who are making a lot of sales for real
mm.
are, I feel like, skewed. And I don't know if this is just maybe because of who I know or if it's an actual market shift. I don't have like the data. But for me, it seems like there's a shift of like more people like us who actually care. I don't know if that's,
It's you see the grin on my face because I love the direction you kinda went with that. Well, first of all, I thank you so much for that affirmation, and I've always been, like, drawn to your energy and your caring, and, you lead by example. You really do. You say what you're gonna do, and then you back it up and do it, and that's probably why
hmm,
I've been sitting here today and enjoying this. What I think is, and now I've lost my thought about it, sorry. Um,
we were talking about like the shift of
right.
types
Um,
of people.
oh, I know. What I've come to believe to be true, to be a truth, is in the world, you don't get back from the world what you want in your mind. You actually get back from the world what you put out in the world.
Hmm,
And so, kind of what I'm hearing you say is as you have evolved and as I've evolved and as other really people that really care, about the
hmm,
people that they're helping, because, I know that if I help people get what they want, the universe tells me and my belief system tells me that I will be blessed by that. I will get what I want. But it's not an action that comes first. It's I put that out there so that
hmm,
I attract the kind of people that I am, that I want to help and that I want to serve and that I want to be around. And I feel that just kind of keeps blossoming, right? And I think you share that. I think I hear you
hmm.
saying that. So that was what I don't know if
Very
that.
cool. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
you're welcome.
It's been a fun time
It's
together
been like
today.
really fast.
Yeah,
It always is though, Josh.
I know. We have a few minutes
Okay.
left, so I don't want to miss the opportunity to ask you about this, and we haven't
Okay.
talked about this one on one yet. So feel free, like, if you could give like a 3 to 5 minute summary of this life surge event that you
Okay.
just went to. That's an event that I've really been wanting to go to for some time, and I would love to hear. I've
All
seen
right.
some people posting about it on
Yeah.
social media. What were some of your biggest takeaways,
All
and
right.
what was like maybe some of the biggest impact that you got
Okay.
from attending that event? Who were the speakers? How was the ambiance?
So Life Surge, I had no idea what it was. I was a victim of social media
Okay.
because it just kept coming up in my feed. And I saw a couple people that were on the bill, Ed Milet being one of them, that I had seen before. And I knew I had walked away from that experience. He was at an event that I was at feeling really good, and you
Mm,
feeling like my energy was filled up. So I'm like, all right. And then I looked at the cost and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna get one and get one for myself, and I bought the tickets way before the holidays. So the program was there were all these Christian people that have big Christian lives, but
mm.
also have made impact in the business world. And they all came together and had their time to speak about 30 minutes. There was amazing worship and it was held at
That's
Cal.
some of what I saw, I think, on
Yeah, it was
social.
amazing worship that was all kinda blended in. I think the biggest, coolest thing that happened as part of the worship, one of the things was I sat right next to the engineering booth, and there were younger I call them young kids because 'cause I'm old, so they're probably in their 20s or early 30s, but there's these young kids obviously doing all the production, but they're still, like, really engaged
Mm,
in the music and in that, and that was what I was really moved by was oftentimes for me, and maybe many Christians or many people of faith, whatever their faith is, whoever they believe in, feel diminished and feel afraid to like stand up and talk about who they really are and who they
Mm,
really believe in. And it was this forum that I don't want to say anything goes because we were in a church, so it wasn't anything goes, but people were speaking from the stage with this truthfulness that, we need to be empowered. It's okay to make money. It's okay to be wealthy. Um, it's okay to be abundant because that just allows you to help other people,
mm,
right? When your storehouse is full, right? And you can make everything that you need to make to take care of your family and to take care of yourself. And you have an abundance. That abundance, if you're following, your creator goes right back to the community. And it was the first place that I was really moved to see that all in one place and everybody just like really being on board with it. And I think that that is the hope of the world.
hmm. I love that. Yeah, I follow a lot of the people who were there. Ed Milet definitely
Yeah.
being one of them.
I mean, I
He's
can't pronounce his last name, but the gentleman that didn't have arms and
Nick
didn't have,
Vujicic, I think. Yeah,
wow.
I've seen him in person before.
That's the
It's
first time I
amazing.
saw him. And I was like, I mean, I was brought
It's
to
like,
tears many
how do you
times.
complain about anything
Right.
after
Yeah.
hearing from
And,
him?
he put up a picture of him being newborn. He was just like a little peanut, no arms, no legs, just his little head, and told the story about how the doctors actually apologized to his family for not being able to tell them ahead of time
Mm,
how he was going to be born so they could have the potential, you know, thought
have an
of should I
abortion.
have this
Yeah,
child or not? And your tears are streaming down, and there's this guy just jumping up and down, so happy to be alive on no legs.
yeah,
Yeah, you really feel small, right? You really feel like, "Whoa, I'm not having a bad day."
yeah,
So it was that kind of stuff that was going on that just fills you up.
yeah. I love that. He has a powerful, powerful
Yeah, and
story.
it ended with 78-year-old, who doesn't wanna see, John Maxwell?
Yeah, the closer.
Yeah, he's like his shoe fell off. He went out to the audience, and he saw someone holding his book, and he's like, "Hey, throw that book up here." He's 78 years old, so he walks over to the edge to get the book and autographed it.
Very
And as
cool.
he walked over there, his shoe fell off, and he's like, "You know what? That's the beauty of being 78 years old. I don't really give a rat's butt that my shoe fell off." And I'm like, "This is great, right?"
That's
It's just
hilarious.
real. So,
Yeah. I think that people like us who care about people and want to help people should try to control as much uh, financial wealth as we can, because then we can be
mhm,
generous, we
right,
can help people, we can bless people.
right,
Um, I feel like it's kind of logical
right.
to say, hey, the people with really good hearts, do we want them to control
I would agree with that.
the things,
I would agree
So,
with that.
um, at the same time, not serving that or like having that be the ultimate purpose of
Mhm,
life. But, but I think that, so I that's something about that particular conference that I think
right.
is unique and cool.
You would have had an alignment with the
Yeah.
message that you were hearing around that. I heard a pastor, I think on a podcast actually say, money in the hands of evil people do bad things,
Hmm.
right? Money in the hands of good-hearted people change the world.
Yeah.
So, and that's a hard
Love that.
sometimes to think about, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think, and this is like a movement that I'm trying to
Mhm.
help,
Mhm.
is I think God's people should be a shining example of, what you could do if you have discipline. Like,
Mhm.
how could your health be? How could
Mhm.
your thought life be? How could your finances be? Um, so
I
I
agree.
think that is a cool conference,
That
and
was. And, if it ever comes up again, I think you would enjoy it.
I know I would enjoy it.
Yeah. The bigger day was Saturday, because Saturday they replaced, Nick. I think no, they replaced Ed Milet with Tim Tebow, who's a
Oh,
local,
cool. I've seen him
and they
too.
they sold out the whole auditorium on Saturday, so,
Mm, very cool.
mhm.
Any final thoughts that you want to share that you didn't get to share?
Wow, I didn't come with any expectations except that I made a promise, and I enjoyed every minute
Well,
of
I
it.
appreciate you
You
keeping the
are
promise.
you are a true awesome person to be connected with, and thank you for the
Thank you for
opportunity.
the kind words, and I
Yeah.
feel the same about you, so I appreciate that. One of the driving purposes behind doing this podcast, and it's something that's really important to me, and why this podcast ended up being called the Made to Be Great
Mhm.
podcast, is that I believe that God made each one of us
Yeah.
to be great at something.
Yeah.
And I hope that this podcast over time can help spark that. My fabulous producer sitting over here helped me come up with the byline
He's
of,
the magic, right?
he is.
He's the magic.
He helped me with the byline that says, made to be great conversations that spark growth.
Love it.
And I hope and pray that this podcast platform over the course of time is something that um, helps conversations that spark growth in people in whatever it is that they need to hear at that time. So I am excited to
Yeah.
have a variety of different guests on the
Yeah.
podcast. I've had my daughter a couple of times. My wife has been a couple of
I've
times.
seen the ones with your wife.
Um,
I haven't seen the one with
so
your daughter. I'll have to check that one.
it's been amazing, and I look forward to more. So thanks
Thank
everyone for
you.
joining us again for another episode of the Made to Be Great podcast. And Christy, thank you so much
You're
for joining
welcome.
today. It's been a pleasure and an honor to have you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You were made to be great. Don't settle for less. You were made to be